Rowan, I tell you, all this anti-Semitic, anti-Israel, worrying, a supported base that sits behind these independents, got to concern you.
Well, it does, and it's obviously particularly of concern in electorates that have a large Jewish population or a large Jewish vote. People within those electorates have every right to know very clearly what the views are of those so-called independents who are selling themselves on climate change. It's great. You may support doing lots on net zero and climate change and all the rest, but and therefore you might be tempted to vote for one of these characters. But if you do so, you need to think very, very carefully about what happens, as you pointed out in your excellent documentary, Peter. What happens if these characters end up holding the balance of power? And say there's some crisis involving more attacks on Israel or whatever, and the Australian Parliament has to vote on something or other. You want to know precisely how these so-called independents, if they do end up holding the balance of power, which way they're going to jump, particularly on issues like Israel. And unfortunately, with the two you mentioned, there are big question marks that have been raised about their attitude to Israel.